Welcome to your Championship recap, sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. We'll be talking about quite a lot of football, but also 3 current ongoing managerial searches updated, and finally, the points deduction. But we'll start with some football, where actually the biggest game of the weekend takes place after we record. Monday night, Sheffield United Borough, and I genuinely think it could be one for the ages, George. I think it could be one of the most memorable games of the season. I think it could be a ding-dong 2-2 draw.
Looking forward to settling down tonight watching a 0-0 then. Perfect.
Well, we had plenty of those. 3 matches that happened in the Championship, including our league leaders, Coventry City. But for how long? For how long? Might not be league leaders by 10 p.m. Coventry drawing 0-0 at home to Oxford. That means 2 draws between these two sides this season. Cov, 3 without a win, 2 wins in their last 8, 4 wins in their last 13.
Yeah, I think there are 2 ways to talk about this game that happened. One is Coventry out of form, continue their poor form, not good enough, wasted in front of goal, not looking like the team we saw earlier in the season. Oxford fighting hard, being that dogged team, down to 10 men with 50 minutes to go, with Will Lancashire getting sent off the bench. First yellow for dissent, second yellow for just a very weird off-the-ball barge, which was a surprising thing to do when you're on a yellow card. But Oxford saw it out, and it's a huge win, showing a lot of fight and belief and passion.
Like you when you talk about Oxford on the pod.
The other way to look at it is that Coventry missed loads of chances, and there's another world where 2 of those chances go in. Torp put one the wrong side of the post, where early in the season is probably putting them away. Matt Grimes had one really nice shot that whistled wide. Hadji Wright had one into the side netting. Michal Helik had a kind of shot that would have been an own goal that hit Jamie Cumming in the face and didn't go in. Oxford came very close once with Shemi Plaheta curling one just wide after Christ Makosso had kind of set him free down the right hand side. But yeah, it's so easy to get done by outcome bias in these results, where there probably wasn't loads between Oxford's performance in this game compared to the previous 2 defeats. But I do think going down to 10 men and showing that the kind of the ability basically to restrict Coventry to relatively little. I think they picked up like 9 bookings in the game, having come into the game being the team who picked up the second fewest bookings in the whole division, showing a bit of a change of attitude maybe under Bloomfield. But either way, it's a huge point for Oxford. And the Coventry City's woes, for whatever reason, continue.
Now, pronunciations are both difficult and important, and I like to think we make sure that we try our best. That's the first time I've ever seen anyone use 2 separate pronunciations of a player's name rather than just pick one and go for it. You went Christ or Christ Makosso.
Well, basically,
you're going to have to pick one at some point.
I have for my whole life.
Yeah.
Since he crossed my consciousness about a year ago, called him Christ Makosso.
Yeah.
And now that he belongs to my club,
yeah,
I even got an email from Jerome at BBC Oxford with pronunciations, as I often do when we have sign players, and it seems like his name is Christ. So it's just a case of me, in the moment, having to correct myself rather than saying it either way. But it's a shame because, I want to call him Christ. I tried to find, because he's been very good so far, I tried to workshop a tweet on Saturday afternoon calling him both like our saviour and our leader.
Nice.
But it didn't quite work, so I deleted it.
Well, we'll keep workshopping.
Thank you.
Keep workshopping. The big winners at the top, at least until 8 p.m. on Monday, were Ipswich Town. They beat Derby by 2-1. Now, Derby's home form might be letting them down a bit, and they're way better away from home at the moment. But even so, I am not sniffing at this win if I'm Ipswich Town. And I predict that not many teams will win at Derby between now and the end of the season. That this was an impressive 3 points. They went 1-0 up, having started the game easily the better side, and with some fortune, as their old player, Lewis Travis, just headed one into his own net, facing the wrong way, tried to clear the ball with his head and just nodded it into the corner instead.
He loves playing a part in Ipswich's promotion push to the Premier League from January onwards. It's what he does.
So he's the second player from that promotion-winning team to score an own goal after Cameron Burgess scored 2 own goals against Ipswich. Wolfenden, when they played Coventry, sort of scored a half own goal that was ultimately given, I think, to Jack Clark. He was in that team as well. So they really are getting, as they did in 23-24, mega output from some of those
Charlton?
Individuals. Who are you thinking?
Clark.
Yeah. Harry Clark,
He's definitely
OG,
got an goal in him, isn't he, as well?
Nailed on. Derby equalised in the second half. They had a spell, as is often the case in championship games, and it was a really nice move, actually, probably their best move of the game, that led to a penalty scored by Brewster. Matasiwa in the Ipswich midfield was having a great game at this point, and then was a little late, was a little too aggressive, gave away a penalty. Derby score. But the winning goal was a sensational header from Leif Davis. A lot of love I've seen for this goal from basically anyone that saw it. It was a cross hung up by Casey McAteer and Leif Davis coming in at the far post, planting it back into the top corner. He's so good at scoring with his left foot. He scored spectacular goals. First time volley against Oxford from the edge of the box, set up from a corner. But this was something that we've not seen much from him. I guess my main takeaway from watching this game was really liked the Jack Clarke, Anis Mehmeti, Wes Burns trio behind the striker. So Ipswich at the top of the pitch all season have been trying to find a combination that works, getting so much from their left wing with Philogene and now Jack Clarke, but getting loads from Marcelino Nunez in the 10, then he went missing for a bit. On the right side have really struggled. In the number 9 spot have kind of struggled for consistency. Those three worked really well. Mehmeti played very well in the number 10 role. I just really strongly believe that Burns, even if he might not be in some attributes as good a player individually as Sindre Egli or potentially even Casey McAteer, I think he inhabits that role on the right wing of this Ipswich attack and this tactical setup much better than those players. And it was quite a tough scene, I think, for Egli that McAteer came on rather than him for Burns and then set up Leif Davis for that brilliant headed goal. So, you know, Lewis Travis was quite funny in this game. His head completely went after his own goal. He got booked for a clear bookable offence, was laughing and clapping at the ref, and I think in some cases quite lucky not to receive a second yellow for dissent because of that, and then did get sent off at the end for wrestling with Darnell Furlong. Jack Clarke, last word on him. I think watching full 90s of Ipswich in the last few months, Clarke's always the one I come back to as a player who, it's not new that he'd be a star at this level. And he had 2 amazing seasons at Sunderland where his output was brilliant as a dribbler and as a goal threat, absolutely sensational. But I think he's added quite a lot to his game in the last 24 months at Ipswich. To me, he's a much more well-rounded attacking player, plays with his head up much more, played one beautiful slid through ball to set up a chance in the first half. Out of possession, I think he's a lot smarter, a lot better, makes the most of his physical attributes. I think he's a much more well-rounded player, and I think ultimately, because of that, as well as being an incredible goal threat, one of the top scorers in the league, to me just has to be considered, probably with Fatawu, the best attacking player in the league, I think. So, big win for Ipswich.
22nd of April, 7:45 kickoff, Charlton Ipswich, Clarke own goal.
Harry Clarke own goal, 8:20.
Yeah.
George, Hull 2, Bristol City 3, mauled by the Squirrels.
So we've got 2 things to talk about here. Because we've got to talk about the game, obviously, because it was an important game for both Hull and Bristol City season for different reasons, and it was a good game. But we've got to talk about the squirrel. Now, I was watching.
Oh God! I thought I'd heard everything you could ever possibly say after 10 years, but we've got to talk about the squirrel.
What was great is that I was
original content.
So on the weekend, I had both my kids.
That's nice
for the weekend with my.
That makes it seem like some weekends you've only got one or
none. No.
Basically, it's not one of those situations.
No.
All well.
All
well
fine.
At home?
Yeah, all fine.
Well done.
We gave my wife and her mum had a weekend away, so I had the kids.
Nice.
I managed to negotiate it so that my mum took the oldest out from 3 till 5, and I had the youngest, so I just plonked in front of something.
Mm-hmm.
Unless my wife's listening, in which case I was playing with her the whole time.
Playground, baby.
And I had final score on. I love final score.
Old school.
Final score's great. Yeah, but it's good though. Like, not, this is no shade on another 3 till 5 o'clock live score programs.
Yeah.
But like, Sammy Parker knows what he's talking about when it comes to the EFL stuff, and he's on the whole time, which is great. The pundits are decent. It's not as like going from match to match. The reporters are brilliant. So I think it's a great show. But the squirrel segment on Final Score was just absolutely magnificent, and I was happy because I was going to see if they clipped it up, put it out on socials, and they did, and it's done really well, which is good to see because it was amazing. Like the excitement in the reporter's voice in terms of what was going on and the sheer jubilation around this squirrel who entered the field of play. Entered the pitch, the field of play.
You pivoted there.
I've just set him off.
You pivoted there from talking about Football Focus to taking on the the character of a police chief standing outside a police station,
exactly.
giving
he's entered the field of play.
Squirrel entered the field of play on the 59th minute.
A bit later, I think. And this squirrel, like, it's, if you haven't seen the clips, definitely go and see it. He manages to delight the crowd by running into both goals, which is amazing. So both goals were cheered by the stadium,
box to box.
There were 2 employees of Hull City, and what role I'm not sure, who were chasing the squirrel around the pitch, trying to throw their coat on the squirrel in order to stop it, and it was just evading them every opportunity, and the crowd were loving it. Like, I
Did you see the reverse angle where one of them gets megged by the squirrel?
Yeah, it's amazing. I just can't imagine how, what is the mindset of those people thinking, like, how has it come to this? It kept going underneath a ball boy's stool. Like, it was just, well done, the squirrel. It was eventually caught, but yeah, an iconic moment from this season. The game, I mean, who really cares? Hull were beaten, is the story here. It was another game, as Hull games often are, that was pretty end-to-end. But this time round, Hull weren't able to take their chances. They took their chance when it came, but it was Bristol City who were pretty clinical against them, thanks in great part to some good work from set pieces. What I would say is that McBurney's kind of pre-assist and the touch out of his feet for the first goal is just so good. Like,
lovely football.
He's such a good player. Like, he's someone who, at championship level, when he's fit and he's playing consistently, he's always been a massive goal threat. He's just a brilliant footballer, and I think probably he doesn't get the credit he deserves for how good that he really is, both as a scorer, but also as a footballer too. Rob Atkinson equalised shortly afterwards with a header from a set piece. McCrory finished really well after some the loose ball fell to him after Twine had tried to have a shot. Jacobson, Emil Rees had missed a really good opportunity at 0-0 before McBurney had scored, but put that right after a brilliant ball from Twine. Do you think Twine often, we said it before in the pod, like he's known for his free kick ability, his ability to score long range shots. He's a really creative player, and that often gets overlooked. It was a brilliant ball from him that Jacobson finished off before Dowell made it 3-2 in a second half that was interrupted a fair bit by a squirrel. So, for Hull, it's a damaging result. It is 2 games in a row where they haven't been at their best. They were definitely better from an attacking standpoint in this one than they were against Watford, but against a Bristol City side that really struggled in recent weeks, for them to give away as many chances as they did will be frustrating to them. And, it's always the case now where people have been saying that the results were going to turn. It was getting late in the game. We were saying, does it really matter now? 1 point from the last 2 games, both of them at home. It's going to be a really, really important run of games now. After we've got the FA Cup weekend coming up now, but then they've got 2 home games against QPR and Derby, and you just feel like those are going to be massive for them in terms of their credentials, obviously to stay in the race for the top 2, which may have gone now, but also to finish in the top 6.
Yeah, Twine, in terms of open play chances created, because a lot of people will often say, well, yeah, he juices his numbers in terms of chance creation with his set piece delivery, which is still exceptional and creates a lot of goals for the team. But I think there's only, in fact, I know because I've got it in front of me on the Opta Analyst, only 7 players in the Championship that create more open play chances per 90. And they are all wide players: Aziz, Fellows, Bergzorg, Roberts, Clark, Mason Clark, apart from Finn Azaz, who creates slightly more than Twine. So yeah, in that area of the pitch, he is exceptional. And what's interesting about Twine, and as it was Mehmeti back when they first played, it's the way that Bristol City play that made Sergej Yakurovic change shape for the first time in a long time. And I think there's some people that would think, when you've got a home game and your favourites to win it and you're in amazing form and you've played the same way all season, changing your shape is, well, it's certainly brave.
Yeah.
Now, he said we changed it because of the 2-10s from Bristol City. In the first game, we had a lot of problems controlling them, and I think we had stability in open play, but the problem was after we lost easy ball transitions. We tried to run there to get back when they counterattacked, but maybe they are faster than us. So there is a bit of a story here, I think, about Yakurovic, who has been sensational this season, has barely put a foot wrong since becoming Hull City manager, has delighted the fans and kind of wowed the division. But maybe a misstep on this front, changing a shape that's worked very well to be reactive to an opponent that scored 3 goals against them anyway and still created plenty of chances. Wrexham 0, Millwall 2. This one was 5th, beating 6th, and in doing so putting 6 points between them. So there's now very significant points gap between Millwall in 5th and Wrexham in 6th. It was weirdly both quite a fortunate win based on the balance of play. Millwall clinical, taking their 2 chances. Well, actually, that's a lie. The first was an own goal. So Millwall fortunate and clinical. But also revenge for a 2-0 defeat that Wrexham gave them at the Den, which was basically the complete mirror of this, where Millwall were the better side in terms of balance of play and chances created. Wrexham took their chances. So they'll feel like they're even now. Crocombe did well in Millwall's goal. They obviously signed Anthony Patterson late on in the window from Sunderland. surely to take the gloves full time or be the number one, but they've kept Crocombe in nets because he's been doing pretty well. And he made 5 saves, kept a clean sheet, and was a big reason for the win here. Femi Aziz, as always, massive as well going forward. Both goals came from his quality. The second goal smashed in by Josh Coburn, who's another player that's been questioned quite a lot. Is he good enough as a striker option for a team that want to win promotion to the Premier League? Thumping finish. And you're looking at me. I know you're itching to say something, and I want to know what.
Well, it dawned on me on Saturday that every time Millwall win, my mentions are now horrific.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's okay. I enjoyed the one person who said, you are why anyone shouldn't be let on podcasts.
Correct.
Which made me happy. It's just a shame that no one listened to the week after where I gave them a lot of praise.
We didn't tweet the clip, did we?
Well, that's your choice. But no, I mean, it's frustrating because I think Millwall have been so good this season. And, right now they're probably playing as well as they have done over the whole campaign. And right now they look to me to be so well set for finishing the top 6. And their style of play, their ability to kind of, adapt depending on the opposition makes them like pretty well suited to a playoff campaign too. So,
mate, I'd like to be the first one to say the word automatics in this conversation.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I'll tell you why, okay? This is partly circumstantial because Millwall play Sheffield Wednesday next away. And they should beat Sheffield Wednesday,
you would think
as
so.
Everyone at the moment should beat Sheffield Wednesday. Then they play at home to Portsmouth. They will be heavy favourites to win that game. They should, in my eyes, win that game. If Millwall get 6 points from their next 2 games, they'll be on 59 points from 33. I can guarantee you pretty much that they'll be closer than the current gap that they are off top, which is 5 points right now. That's Middlesbrough. We don't know what they'll do tonight. Might be 6 points off Borough, in which case he'll be 6 points off Cov. He'll be second. So they will be closer than they currently are, I think, if they win. If they win. At which point people will have the conversation much more seriously. And to have it now, everything you just said, I think we can apply to before the playoffs, the last 15 games of the season. They've got one of the best managers, proven at this level, proven in winning promotion, who I think gets better at the sharp end of the season. I think Neil's style of management and his tactics help his team finish stronger because they're so good out of possession. They have different ways of scoring goals. He's going to be so calm and project that onto his players. They have some genuinely star players in their position, Aziz being the main one. You could say Kramer as well. The centre-backs are playing really well at the moment. They added Barry Bannon, who will have an impact at some point.
Yeah.
Tommy Watson scored the winner in the Championship playoff final 6 months ago. Anthony Patterson may or may not take the gloves off Crocombe. It's not going to hurt to have him involved. And sphincters are tightening at the top of the Championship. Sphincters are tightening. Coventry, maybe Hull. Who knows about Borough? We don't know yet about Borough. We don't know yet about Ipswich. I don't think Millwall are going to be suffering from nerves to the same extent.
They play Ipswich and Borough back-to-back away from home. Ooh. 21st of March and then the 3rd of April. Up until then, as you say, they've got Sheffield Wednesday away, which should be the easiest away game of your season. They have 4 home games, Pompey, Birmingham, Derby and Blackburn. And they go away to Preston and they go away to Hull in that time. So it's a relatively kind, on paper, run of games until those back-to-back. And there's no reason why they can't be within touching distance when they travel to both. It's going to be tough. But yeah, despite common belief, I'm fully on board with this side being one of the top teams in the league.
Thank God anyone can jump on a podcast. Because if that wasn't the case, we might not have just talked about Millwall winning automatic promotion.
They're now going to lose every game until...
A quick one on Wrexham before we move on.
Okay.
Notable to me, an interview with their owners, a guy called Rob Reynolds, another one, Ryan McElhenney, spoke to Richard Sutcliffe of The Athletic. Just really interesting quotes from these owners. I've not really ever seen anything quite like it, and I wanted to hear your thoughts. I wanted to share how it made me feel. They're talking about Phil Parkinson, and I suppose knowing for sure that these quotes were going to be both published and discussed and shared. Phil's been the linchpin of this entire thing. Brilliant. For him to take that risk and come on that journey with us, create that journey, and the blueprint has been, critical is not the word, essential. All really nice stuff. I just don't see a scenario where Phil Parkinson gets fired. From our perspective, he's got the job for life. unless he finds another job he wants to go off and do, he's our coach.
Imagine if Parky's still doing in like 25 years.
85-year-old Park.
Yeah, just cracking on.
Job for life. What do you reckon?
I think, and I mean this with the utmost respect to them because of what they've done at the club. Both guys have admitted their previous knowledge and experience of English football, or I know they're obviously Welsh football, but the English football leagues, EFL, was minimal before getting involved in the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since they've come in, all they've known is success. So it's incredibly easy for them to sit there and say, yeah, I mean, look at what he's done. It's absolutely incredible. Like, why would we ever sack him? The difficulty always comes when there's hardship. And I doubt it'll be, if they were to get promoted to the Premier League, I can definitely imagine that Parky would be allowed to bring them down. And I think there's an element where Parkinson's style of play probably means he's actually very well suited to being a manager of a team that are trying to sustain Premier League status. But, it wasn't long ago at all that they were in a position which looked like if a bad run of form would take them towards the bottom three. The journey they have been on is, of course, massively in thanks to Parkinson, but that doesn't mean that if that journey is going to come to a shuddering halt, the decisions won't be made. So I think they're lovely words, and I think it's great to hear the esteem with which they hold him in, but I think it's fanciful to think that there wouldn't come a time where a decision is made to part company. But it's good. I mean, it's definitely, refreshing to hear that.
I suppose I'm interested in the idea that if you really believe that the manager is an incredible manager and they have as much evidence as you could possibly have, then you might be much stronger in tough times. We don't know this, but you might be much stronger in tough times. I also am interested in the idea that having no prior knowledge of English football, it's very easy and probably true to be like, yeah, it doesn't quite work like in the States over here for lots of reasons. But in the States, they don't sack coaches. They'll be like, in most major sports, maybe like 10% of the head coaches will be sacked every season, and sometimes even fewer. So the culture there is very different. It is not as reductive as team doing badly, must sack manager to do better. And so I'm kind of interested in that. Like, we all think that managers get sacked way too often.
Yeah.
So is there a part of this discussion that is, what if they walked the walk and were the change that we'd like to see in the world?
Yeah.
But then I also think, and this is probably my strongest opinion, owners saying stuff like this serves only to create a rod for their own back down the line.
Yeah.
Because it will be brought up at every possible opportunity. Because while it might give Parkinson a bit of a boost, and as Wrexham are doing well right now, everyone might go like this. Some people might go, this is lovely. But ultimately, people don't forget. And if you as an owner say anything, I think, about here's the style of play we're going to implement, Walsall a good example at the moment, fans throwing back a statement that they said 2 years ago about how the team was going to look on the pitch as a way of saying, well, you better sack Matt Sadler because we don't look like that right now.
Yeah.
Anything around we're going to play this certain style of play is a complete, it just creates your issues for yourself down the line. And I think something like this is basically the same. You don't need to say this.
I mean, this is a country where in this sport, an owner coming out and offering some support to an under-fire manager is basically seen as being like a Grim Reaper's knock. Like, we're used to owners saying stuff and other things happening. But there'll come a point with Wrexham, and it could be next season, or whatever else, where someone's going to sit them down and say, look, we've got a 20% chance of going down this season. And if that happens, then we're going to lose this much money.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And that's where it's going to be much harder to say, yeah, sorry, the guy in charge now has got a job for life.
Preston beat Portsmouth 1-0. Aidan, who's a PNE fan on the squad, said that this was basically a match that happened. It was kind of like a 0-0 that wasn't a 0-0. And that's because one of the great looping headers of the season so far, scored by Alfie Devine.
That's an amazing category.
Yeah.
One of the great looping headers of the season so far.
Oh, well, there's another one in League Two. Tom Naylor scored an absolutely beautiful looper. I think it's important that we break down, when you break down goals scored with feet, you talk about a curler, you might talk about a pile driver, you talk about you pass it into the net. I think headed finishes should have a similar breakdown.
I don't hear anyone ever say like, oh, that's one of the best curlers of the season.
Well, they should. We talked about Jakirovic changing shape. It was actually quite a strong week for managers changing shape for the first time in a while. Eric Ramsey did it at West Brom under quite serious fan pressure, but Hecky did it as well. Now, I see Heckingbottom's PNE as a pretty set in stone three at the back team, and it's a shape that's worked very, very well for them. They are, what are they, 1 point, 2 points outside the playoffs at the moment? No, level with the playoffs. There you go. They're always higher than you think they are, PNE. And he switched to a 4-4-2 here. I think there's been some absences at the back, some poor form as well. 4-4-2 with Thierry Small and Alfie Devine kind of rolling inside, Small off the right, Devine off the left. It ends up looking a little bit like Kim Hellberg's attacking sort of denomination, if you like, albeit the build-up does not look much like that. And there you go. They found space down the left with Vucevic, the left back. Devine had rolled inside, extra man inside the box for the cross to head home. So that was the difference between the two sides. Birmingham 2, Leicester 1, end of the week. The sort of potential points deduction that we've been talking about for about 6 months became the points deduction. It was a 6-point deduction. Leicester responded by going to Birmingham and losing by 2-1. Tell me about the game. Let's talk about the deduction. Then let's talk about Blues.
So the game started with Pereira being caught in possession by Osman, who raced down the left-hand side and finished pretty well. Begovic trying to make the save, but being unable to do so. An unbelievable goal from Fatawu. Like the ball falling to him on the edge of the area, chesting it down and firing a half volley into the top right-hand corner. Just an unbelievable strike and a ridiculous player who, frankly, when you see him do stuff like that, you just wonder why he can't have a more consistent impact for Leicester. Because
I wonder why there was no rumours about him in January, given Leicester's situation, given the fact he's 21.
They're a football club that make little to no sense to me
that's very true.
At all. Like decision making, squad building.
They signed Jamal Lascelles.
Like it's even now, like you look at their team and you're like, how are you incapable of being better than this? Like Lascelles came straight in next to Nelson. Aribo came in kind of a deeper midfield role, which I'm not sure necessarily suits him. But like, I mean, Bobby Reid was sent off shortly after Fatawu's goal for a pretty nasty looking challenge where he made kind of obvious contact with the ankle with the studs up.
Yeah.
Stansfield's finished off a really nice move. He's had a bit of a goal drought, so he'll be relieved to be back in the goals after some great work from Dutch from a deeper point. I feel like the Dutch-Stansfield combo up top is really working. We'll get onto the point section in a second, because quickly with Birmingham, it struck me that we've seen a lot of their January signings coming straight into the team. Like Wagner's coming at left back and looked really, really good. A good creative outlet, good one-on-one defender. Osman's coming on the left-hand side in the kind of supporting three behind Dutch as the striker. Stansfield in the middle. Vicente on the right. Vicente came close to scoring. Solis has come in next to Pike in midfield. Like starters immediately. When you look at the other players that are in the team with him, you've got Clara at the back. Iwatu, who's obviously moved from centre midfield to right back. Pike, who's playing with Solis in midfield. So the three players who joined in what was like a massive summer of recruitment were Beadle in goal, who isn't necessarily having a great season. Neumann, who's come in and done well, and Dutch, who it took a while for him to come into the side, but now is leading the line incredibly well and scoring goals. But only three players that came in what's looking like a now like really poor summer of recruitment. Like Kyogo is clearly the player, or clearly the one that's kind of flopped the most up to this point. But
the white elephant.
Gardner-Hickman, Samsted, Robinson's come in and been basically sent off more than he's done anything good. I'll say Samuel's been fine. Damari Gray was obviously very good, but now his injury means he's out of the side. Tommy Doyle hasn't had anywhere near the kind of impact that we thought he was going to have. Cashin came in, sent back again after a really poor first half loan. Lewis Kumas exactly the same. So in a way, even though Birmingham have been a bit disappointing this season compared to pre-season predictions from many, and certainly their fan base expectations, I do wonder if just a bad summer window set them back a bit. And now with the players who have come in looking really strong and coming into the side, we're going to see a very different Birmingham in the second half of the season. When you look at the league table,
2 points off.
They're banging it.
Really strong defensive numbers. Last 4 or 5 games, I noticed that Coventry win was so massive for them on the 4th of Jan, 3-2 win. And then there was the weekend off for the FA Cup since they come back. Draws against Swans and Stoke, wins against Wednesday, Oxford and Leicester. Still waiting for another kind of statement win to kind of frank this run of form. But certainly, particularly on the defensive end, they are locking teams down at the moment.
The key is going to be, I mean, I've seen some Birmingham fans saying, we sorted out our away form now. And the basis for saying that seems to be a draw at Swansea where they were second best. Beating Wednesday 2-0, nothing to write home about that. Beating Oxford 2-0, you've beaten 24th and 23rd away from home, basically, and you've got a point away from home at a decent side, but you've been second best. So the real test is going to be back-to-back away games at the end of February, away at Norwich and away at Millwall. I think once we see those, we'll know, because there's if it wasn't for if Birmingham's home form over the season had been reflected in their away performances, they would be bang in the mix. It's just been an inability to show that kind of performance level. But yeah, definitely good signs for them. Even though, seeing off 10-man Leicester at home is probably, again, not the hardest assignment.
Yeah, Swansea beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-0 on Sunday. Straightforward win, as you'd imagine. Wednesday are obviously desperate at the moment. 22 defeats in their 31 games. Most notable thing really for me was just the power of Vipotnik's free kick, which he hit from just outside the box, straight at Murphy Cooper. But I'm not sure there's pretty much anyone I can remember covering on the pod that strikes a football as well as Jan Vipotnik. He is now 3 goals clear at the top of the Championship goal scorer charts. He scored a second from close range not long after this one. But the ball striking on the guy is sensational. They scored a nice first goal as well. Timon, who's just unbelievable at the moment, setting up Franco. That's notable because I think, and I'll talk a bit more about Matos' record and what he's doing, but I think the aggressiveness of the number 8s to get inside the box and really contribute to the attack, and also the counter press, which is really important. Franco's been moved into that role and done really, really well, and tapping in the 6-yard box kind of reflected that. And Yalkuye, who came off the bench and looked really, really good and scored the 4th goal as well. So Matos is now, right, it's 8 wins in 15, but he actually lost his first 2 games. You might remember Swans were at like an all-time low when he came in, and there were games straight away, and he lost the first 2. So we'll call that his grace period. 3rd game onwards, that's 13 in total, 8 wins in that time. Only 2 teams, Hull and Ipswich, have picked up more points than Swans in that 13-game period. They've conceded just 10 goals, so less than a goal a game. They've scored 20. They've won 6 from 7 at home. And he took over a team that was failing in attack and in defence. There were separate things to sort out. And of course, in modern football, the two are linked, and sometimes it is only one thing to solve that will make both things better, but it can be more complicated than that. What's clear is that he's improved both ends of the pitch concurrently, and it's an incredible feat of management, particularly for someone with so little experience as a first-team manager, experience at this level, coming in during such a tough spell. It really is very, very impressive. Set pieces have been massive. Before this weekend, they'd scored, I think it was 5 of their previous 7 goals from really dangerous set pieces, so he's massively improved that. The counter press is getting better and better. And in the attacking third, to me, the players just look like they are playing with a little bit more freedom. Vidal has spoken about how he's kind of loosened everyone up a little bit, and it means they were always a team that could get the ball into the final third, and then like you just wanted to die watching them try and score. And you looked at Vipotnik in the middle, and the poor bloke just got no service whatsoever. And now it just looks so much better. I think it's exciting. And look, I think I'm trying to pitch Millwall for the autos. We might be pitching Birmingham for the playoffs. You can basically do it with everyone, which is fun at the moment. So Swansea, right? They're only 5 points off the playoffs, and their next 3 games are against Derby, Bristol City, and Preston, who are 3, 4, and 5 points above them. So if they win all of those, if.
Yeah, I think one thing to say is that the appointment of Vitor Matos has been like unbelievable.
Yeah.
What a bit of identification that is of a guy who, hadn't had much managerial experience, had taken a job in Portugal over the summer. But he's come in and incredibly quickly turned around a side that looked like one of the worst teams in the whole league into a really good team. So
and as Kim Hellberg jilted them and redirected his plane, that's a poetic license. Redirected his plane to Middlesbrough when Swans thought they were going to appoint him, and instead had to revert. Ended up with
Vic Tomatoes.
Old Vic Tomatoes. George Norwich 2, Blackburn 0.
Yeah, a funny game, this one. Blackburn were pretty poor throughout, and that maybe wasn't a surprise. The surprising thing was that Norwich were also quite poor. Couldn't really create too much. Wright came quite close with a deflected effort in the first half, but it was a game of very few chances and very low on quality for the majority of it. Jovan Makama came off injured after 50-odd minutes. I've seen some quotes from Philippe Clement saying he's hoping for good news, which suggests it isn't going to be too serious. But as an Oxford fan, hoping that it's serious enough that it means he misses Tuesday night's game. And injuries are racking up a little bit. Cordoba and McConville are building a really good defensive partnership, and again kept Blackburn, pretty quiet. Todd Cantwell had an opportunity. No surprise to see he picked up a yellow card in his trip to Carrow Road, a player that I think isn't overwhelmingly loved anymore by the Norwich fans. When the goal came, it came from a really good hit from Schwartau, who'd come off the bench and was instrumental in both goals. His shot from range hit the woodwork, and Ben Slimani was kind of following in to fire it home. Who'd have thought that we'd see Ben Slimani scoring goals and celebrating in amongst the Norwich fans a few months ago? Great to see.
Did very well to keep that down off the post.
Yeah,
really
it was
impressive
good.
Technique. Yeah,
it was good. And then Schwartau with a shot that was saved into the path of Toure, Norwich's new striker, Mohamed Toure, who looked quite lively coming off the bench for the last 20 minutes or so, or even came on from Makama, so the majority of the second half. So it's a 2-0 win. It's another really impressive result for Norwich. Talking of like how far can teams go, Norwich are certainly a side where they're miles off it now, but if they carry on winning at the rate they are, that gap to 6th is going to close pretty quickly. It's currently 11 points. But with injuries mounting up, I do wonder if there's an element where their performances and results spiked very quickly when Clement came in, and whether we're seeing kind of round off a little bit. So we'll have to see in the coming weeks. But
basically, they just need to beat Oxford in midweek, and then they can suffer a bit of regression after that, and they'll probably still be fine.
Basically, what I'm trying to persuade myself that they're actually not very good going into tomorrow night.
Blackburn Rovers' current favourite for their vacancy is Gary Rowett. We don't have any ITK knowledge on this, so probably one that we'll wait to see, because there's been a few different names bandied about over the last few days, but in many ways would make some sense for all parties. George, Saints beat Watford 1-0.
They did, yes.
And just like Mo Toure, who only signed just a couple of days ago, it was a new striker doing the business for them.
It was off the bench as well. It was Canadian striker Kyle Larin, 30 years of age. I remember him very clearly leading the line alongside Jonathan David for Canada in the World Cup in Qatar. Not that long ago. He was it was a very good diving header from a set piece. Again, not a game with loads in it. Ross Stewart did well with the ball over the top, which was he kind of fought off. We're going to talk about this guy Mafuni, 17-year-old centre-back who's come in from Man City on loan at Watford, who in parts looks absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Like in terms of talent and ball-playing ability for a left-footed centre-back,
he's a future.
Like he is so casual yet talented on the ball. It's like unbelievable to see it. There are a few compilations doing the rounds of his performance, which I'd recommend that you watch. But here he was done in a foot race with Ross Stewart, and then Saints' other big chance in the second half came and Mafuni played a very relaxed back header, which Cienza ran onto, and the shot was saved. Marma had a decent opportunity that was saved pretty well. After Chapatadze went down the left-hand side at a time where Saints had a man down injured. Would have been pretty controversial had that gone in. But there wasn't loads between the two teams on the day, but Southampton have certainly corrected what was a pretty alarming run of form. In recent weeks, they're unbeaten in their last 4, winning 3 of those and only conceding 1 goal.
4 points off the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they just win like all of their games, they'll probably make the playoffs.
The only goal they conceded was Ebu Adams slapping it in on El Costico.
I tell you who won't be having many compilations of their game is Watford's Georgian centre-back, Sasha Golachidze, who came off the bench.
It's just the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
The compilation.
He came off the bench to defend the corner that was aimed at Kyle Larin, who had only come off the bench for his debut 3 minutes before. Golachidze, second best, shrugged off Larin, thumping in the header. Not ideal, I think it's fair to say.
Well, I wonder how they found him, that Golachidze.
Yeah, well, he was playing for Udinese, wasn't he? So I guess the Italian scout will be doing some heavy lifting there.
Yes.
Last one on Watford. Just before we started recording, some great rumours coming out that they are looking to appoint as their new head coach, Edward Still, an Anglo-Belgian manager, older brother of William Still, former Southampton manager, of course. And people were just absolutely losing their heads over this. Many didn't even know that Will Still had a brother, and probably didn't realise that they're hiring him from Anderlecht, where he's been the assistant manager.
Yeah, 3 Still brothers who all work together at Lens, with Ed Still and Nick Still assisting brother Will Still. Yeah, this is a bit of a surprise, especially because Will Still was a 6-4 favourite for the job at the time of this being announced. So maybe someone just thought, like, it's going to be Still. They were like, okay, Will Still. Yeah, it's funny, like everybody else in the world, when I hear of a manager that I don't know, I go on the Wikipedia page immediately. And normally you can tell, especially with like a young up-and-coming manager, the work of the manager himself or his agent or someone connected to him, a family member, is all over their Wikipedia page. With Ed Still, I mean, I hope it's not him, because it's not particularly kind, where Charleroi, it says, still was sacked by Charleroi having taken 16 points from a possible 42 at the start of the second season. At Eupen, he was sacked on 25th of April after taking 12 points from a potential 51. At Kortic, he had won none and drawn 2 of his 8 games when he was sacked. So like, it feels like someone's really kind of gone to work at exposing where things have gone wrong in the past. Now, anecdotally, people that we've spoken to who have some knowledge of his reputation as a coach and as a football guy seem pretty impressed by him. Mm-hmm. As ever, I think assistant coaches are massively underappreciated when it comes to the impact that they will have on success at a club. And I'm sure that his impact with Will Still and what he did at France was probably quite important. Having said that, this does seem like a huge risk. Well, not like risk is the wrong word. I hate that when that's used in terms of managerial appointments, because they're all risks, and perceived risk when it comes to unfancy managers. Like you had Swansea fans when Matos was appointed, being like, who's this guy? Why are we appointing? There's a massive risk to appoint.
It felt
this
like
guy
a big risk.
But
I fell into that trap. It felt like a big risk.
Yeah, I did a whole video about it.
Yeah.
Whereas
sometimes risks turn into big rewards.
But it just, Watford are in a position where the last few weeks has damaged their promotion aspirations hugely, but they're still in with the squeak of being a Premier League team next season. The kind of talent ID going on here is it's a big leap of faith, I guess, that he's the best possible appointment that they can make from here on.
I think there might be some contact-based element of this head coach recruitment.
Alleged agents.
Some of their friends know some of his friends, know some of his clubs, know some of their clubs. The sort of stuff that saw them sign Sasha Golichidze not long ago, might I suggest. Excited to see how he gets on. So if Ed Still comes to Watford from Anderlecht, and he's previously managed Charleroi, Eupen, Kortrijk, all in the Belgian Pro League, he'll be coming over from that wonderful but very low nation. You ever been to Belgium?
I went to Ypres as a child on a history trip, but no, never done an adult holiday. Never been to Bruges. Would love to go to Bruges.
Wow.
Never been to Brussels. Probably less keen on Brussels, but I'd go. I'd go anywhere.
Yeah. Maybe time for a holiday then.
Yes, I would like a holiday very, very much. But Ali, we used to ban each other from taking holidays during the football season because it was too difficult to keep up to date with all the leagues. But that's all changed with NordVPN.
It's not difficult anymore. Watching sports when you're abroad, no longer an issue. That's why I was able to go to Spain for, 8 or 9 days around the turn of the new year, and I didn't miss a kick of football. And there were some quite big games as well. That Coventry Ipswich game stands out, but I saw all the live stuff, highlights, all of it with NordVPN. You can switch your location from anywhere in the world in order to access the content that you pay for and or enjoy at home. So I used it to watch sports. I also used it to book my flights to avoid price discrimination. It's so easy to use. It's one of the fastest VPNs out there. Good for cybersecurity as well, which you know is crucial for me. Can shield your online activities from hackers, make public Wi-Fi safer to use. Just a great and important addition to modern life.
And we've got an exclusive discount for NTT20 listeners, a discounted price and 4 extra months free by heading to nordvpn.com/NTT20. That's nordvpn.com/NTT20.
We finish off with 2-0 nils. Will West Brom be happy to have stopped a rot? Possibly. 0-0 draw at home to Stoke. A match that happened, a tweak tactically from Eric Ramsey, a few nearly moments for both, but Stoke didn't come into this in great form going forward. Earlier, the 0-0 draw, perhaps no great surprise, but I think overall a clean sheet. Just quite good for Ramsey and for West Brom because his first 4 games they'd been super leaky. And Charlton 0, QPR 0 was a match that happened on Friday night. Sometimes you just got to say well done the keepers. 16 shots for Charlton, 18 shots for QPR. 5 on target for Charlton, all saved by Walsh. 4 on target for QPR, all saved by Kaminsky. Lots to talk about in this week's Championship Roundup. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Plenty more where this came from for League One and League Two, wherever you found this episode. Go well.